All right, strap in, everybody. Today we are going deep, deep, deep into the science of attraction.
Oh, yeah.
We have all these recordings about relationships, specifically about the sparks between men and women.
Right.
And this isn't like the typical dating advice stuff.
Yeah.
This is like really trying to understand attraction.
Yeah.
Like the unspoken rules of attraction.
Exactly.
So if you are looking for someone special, or maybe you want to spice up your current relationship,
Right.
or maybe you just like really love psychology and like the science behind all this stuff.
Yeah.
Get ready for some serious aha moments.
I think one of the things that was really fascinating in all of this material was just how much emphasis there was on cultivating a magnetic personal energy.
Yeah.
It's not about tricks or gimmicks. It's about developing this authentic vibe that really draws people in.
Yes. And one of the things that I noticed was this idea of believing you were the prize.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that might sound a little cocky at first.
Yes.
But the source material really digs into why this is so crucial.
Yeah.
And it's not about arrogance. It's about self-worth.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing your own value and then, projecting that confidence outward. Think about it. When you genuinely believe in yourself, it changes everything. Your posture, your eye contact, even how you speak. There's just like this unshakable inner knowing that you bring something special, something unique and valuable to the table.
Like Sylvester Stallone.
Exactly.
Right. He didn't fit the typical Hollywood mold, but his belief in himself was so strong, he turned what some might see as flaws into assets.
Right.
It propelled his entire career. So how do we tap into that prize energy? Because saying believe in yourself, I mean, that's one thing, but putting it into practice can feel totally different.
The source material suggests aligning your actions with your desired beliefs. It's one thing to say it, but are you actually walking the walk? And so the speaker uses this example of pushing yourself at the gym. Even when it's really tough, that sends a powerful message to your brain that I am worthy of taking care of myself.
Okay.
So it's like you're showing yourself through your actions that you're capable and deserving of good things.
I like that. So now let's tackle this whole looks aren't everything thing. I mean, we all know attraction is complex.
Of course.
But it's easy to get caught up in appearances.
Yeah. And the source material really challenges that superficial view.
Yeah.
It emphasizes how confidence, social skills, and that intangible, that vibe, are way more attractive than just physical looks alone.
Yeah. The speaker even shared how his own definition of attractive broadened once he started working on his inner game and his confidence. Suddenly, it wasn't just about appearance anymore. It was about the whole package.
What's so fascinating about it is how much our internal state shapes our perception of the external world, right? So when you feel good about yourself, you start to see the world, you start to see the people in it through this more positive lens.
Okay. So we've talked about believing in yourself, recognizing that looks aren't everything.
Right.
Now let's get to this dominance thing.
Oh, yeah.
I admit that word can sound a little intimidating.
It can.
So what exactly do these recordings mean by dominance?
So it's not about being aggressive or controlling.
Okay.
It's more about, leading interactions. It's about making decisions and projecting a sense of security.
Okay.
And the recordings actually use this analogy of a nightclub, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay.
In a crowded, chaotic environment, dominance is less about brute force and more about just navigating that space smoothly and playfully.
Okay.
You're the calm amidst the chaos.
I like that. So it's like instead of getting overwhelmed by the crowd, you're using that energy to your advantage. You're dancing with the chaos.
Exactly.
It's like you're the conductor of the orchestra.
Exactly.
You're setting the tempo. You're creating that fun, engaging vibe.
Precisely. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about creating positive emotions. The tracks really emphasize that cultivating positive emotions in yourself is essential for attracting others.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to be around people who make us feel good.
Of course.
But how do we become that person, the person who radiates those positive vibes?
The speaker shares a really compelling story about overcoming nighttime depression. He actually retrained his mind to choose happiness, and he did that by focusing on the positive aspects of his life, very intentionally.
Wow, that's powerful. So it shows you that we have more control over our emotional state than we realize.
Absolutely.
He also talks about reframing.
Right.
Taking a negative situation and finding the positive in it.
Exactly.
So choosing to see the opportunity, the lesson.
Even in those challenging moments, yeah.
Yeah, even in those challenging moments is like a mental judo move.
Yeah. It takes practice, but learning to reframe those negative experiences can have a huge impact on your well-being, not just in terms of attraction, but overall.
It's like, like they say, feed the positive wolf.
That's it.
The more you focus on the good, the more you attract it into your life.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of attracting the good stuff, let's talk about embracing sexuality. The source material really dives into how crucial it is to be comfortable with your own sexuality in order to attract others.
Okay. This is where things get juicy.
This is where it gets good.
It's about owning that part of yourself.
Yeah.
And projecting a sexual vibe, not in a creepy way.
Yeah, in a creepy way at all, no.
But through your tonality, your expressions, even your movements, it's that subtle energy that draws people in.
Right. And it uses this, it uses this really funny example. I think it was from like a Howie Mandel or a Billy Crystal skit. There's a skit where this guy is more attracted to a dog than the woman he's supposed to pick up,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so it's just sort of this illustration of, like, sometimes, attraction goes beyond surface appearances. It's about the energy. It's about that spark that ignites when two people connect on a deeper level.
Okay. So it's not just about physical looks.
No, okay.
It's about the confidence. It's about the energy you bring to the table.
Exactly.
And those playful touch examples, like the light shoulder punch, the magazine swat. It's about breaking down barriers and establishing a flirty, fun connection.
That's it. It's creating that sense of comfort, that familiarity, but always being mindful of the other person's cues and boundaries. If they seem uncomfortable, then back off. But if the energy's flowing, a little playful touch can go a long way.
Okay, let's tackle something a bit more conceptual here.
All right.
This idea of controlling the frame, what does that even mean?
So controlling the frame is about shaping the narrative of the interaction. It's about choosing to see things in a way that empowers you. And the speaker gives this example of a woman who tries to make a man jealous. And instead of reacting negatively, the man controls the frame by choosing to see it as her attempt to get his attention.
Okay. So like flipping the script, turning a potential negative into a positive.
Exactly. And what this really highlights is that your perception of a situation often dictates the outcome. So by choosing to see things from a positive, confident perspective, you maintain that control. And you create a more attractive dynamic.
So even if someone's trying to throw you off balance or play games, you can choose to see it as them trying to get your attention, which ironically reinforces that you are the prize.
It does.
Okay.
It's about having that inner confidence, that belief in yourself, regardless of what anyone else is doing or saying. And you're projecting that I don't need your validation vibe, which ironically can be incredibly attractive.
Okay. Before we move on, I want to touch on a theme that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And that is like the importance of being genuine, of being true to yourself.
Yes.
So how do we find that balance between showcasing our best selves and being authentic to who we are at our core?
Yeah. It's about finding someone who appreciates you for you, not some idealized version of yourself. It's about owning your flaws. It's about owning your vulnerabilities, your quirks, those imperfections that make you you. It's about finding someone who loves the whole package, flaws and all.
Okay, that's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into attraction.
Yeah.
From believing you are the prize to controlling the frame and embracing your true self, there's a lot to unpack and process.
For sure.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of attraction. Last time we were talking about controlling the frame, that mental lens through which we view our interactions.
Yeah, and how it all ties back to that core belief that you are the prize. It's like building that unshakable foundation of self-worth.
Absolutely.
But let's get practical for a second. How do we actually cultivate that inner confidence? I mean, it's one thing to say believing yourself.
Right.
But it's another to actually embody it.
You're absolutely right. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
The source material really emphasizes the power of aligning your actions with your desired beliefs. It's about putting in the work. not just thinking positive thoughts.
So you're saying it's not enough to like just do affirmations in the mirror.
Right.
It's about actually taking steps to become the person you envision.
Exactly.
Okay.
Remember that analogy of, remember the speaker's analogy of the gym?
He talked about how pushing yourself physically, even when it's uncomfortable, sends a message to your brain, right? It's like, I am capable, I am worthy.
Yeah.
It's about taking those consistent actions that reinforce your self-belief.
So whether it's, hitting the gym or learning a new skill or just stepping outside your comfort zone, those actions are like votes of confidence for yourself.
That's it.
It's like you're proving to yourself that you're capable of growth and change.
You got it. It's about building that internal momentum that propels you forward, and that includes in the realm of attraction.
Okay.
Now, the source material also dives into the importance of not acting on negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed how like those negative feelings can kind of take over sometimes?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like they can spiral.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
The source material talks about letting those feelings pass without giving them power.
Yep.
Instead of dwelling on rejections or setbacks, focus on the positive actions you can take.
So it's about feeding the positive wolf.
Feed the positive wolf. That's it.
It's like by choosing to focus on what you can control.
Right.
On taking steps towards your goals, you're cultivating a more resilient and yes, attractive inner state.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to circle back to this concept of the golden calf syndrome because it keeps coming up.
Yeah.
But I'm still not entirely clear on what it means and how it relates to attraction.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a metaphor that really captures our attention. And it basically refers to that human tendency to idolize what brings us pleasure, right? Think about it. We're drawn to things that make us feel good, things that light up our pleasure centers.
So in the context of attraction, are we talking about becoming the source of those good feelings for someone else?
Yes. Think of it like this. You become this beacon of positive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The person who just, lights up a room with their energy, with their enthusiasm. You make people feel good just by being around you.
Okay.
And as we've discussed, those good feelings are a powerful aphrodisiac.
But that begs the question.
It does.
How do we radiate those good vibes if we're not feeling them ourselves?
Right.
You can't give what you don't have.
That's where the inner work comes in. The speaker shares this really personal story about struggling with nighttime depression and how he overcame it by consciously choosing to focus on the positive aspects of his life. He retrained his mind to choose happiness.
It really highlights like the power of our thoughts.
Yeah.
And how much control we actually have over our emotional state. It's like, that saying, you are what you think. If you're constantly focusing on the negative, well, you're going to project that outwards.
You're going to attract more of that.
You're going to, yeah. But if you cultivate that positive internal state, that's what you're going to attract.
That's it. It's about becoming a magnet for the good stuff by radiating it from within. And you know what's fascinating is that the source material directly links this idea of creating positive emotions with embracing sexuality.
Oh, okay. This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it really does. It emphasizes that being comfortable with your own sexuality is essential for attracting others. It's about owning that part of yourself and not being afraid to project it.
So it's not about being like overtly sexual.
Yeah, no.
It's more about that subtle magnetic energy.
That's it.
That comes from being comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly. It's the spark in your eyes. It's the playful touch, the confident swagger. It's about creating that that undeniable chemistry through a combination of your inner game and your outer game.
Okay.
Right.
And speaking of the outer game, I want to revisit this concept of peacocking, standing out from the crowd. The speaker uses a surprising example, smoking.
Yes.
While acknowledging its obvious downsides, he explained how it can be a form of peacocking.
Right.
Like a way of signaling rebellion.
Yeah.
And a disregard for societal norms.
Exactly. It's about projecting that that air of confidence and nonconformity, that I do what I want attitude.
Yeah.
Which for some can be very attractive.
Of course, there are healthier and more effective ways to peacock than smoking.
Of course, yeah.
It's about finding those unique aspects of your personality or your style that really set you apart from the crowd and owning them.
Exactly. It's not about trying to fit in. It's about embracing what makes you different. And that ties right back to the concept of not seeking approval.
Oh, interesting.
Especially from the person you're attracted to.
Okay. Because when you're constantly seeking validation from someone else, it puts them in a position of power.
It does.
Right.
It does.
It's like you're saying, you're the prize. I need you to validate me.
Exactly.
Which ironically makes you less attractive.
Yes. The source material really dives into how, trying too hard to please someone or needing their constant approval can actually convey a sense of inferiority.
Right. It's that classic dynamic of, the chaser and the chased.
That's it.
The more you chase,
The more they run.
the further they run.
The speaker really emphasizes that that people are often more attracted to those who project self-assurance, to those who don't need constant reassurance or validation. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, knowing your worth, and not being afraid to express it.
So let's talk about leading interactions.
Right.
Or as the source material calls it, being dominant, but not in a controlling or aggressive way.
Exactly. It's more about guiding the flow of the interaction with confidence and purpose.
Okay.
It's about, taking the lead, making decisions, and creating that sense of comfort and security for the other person.
And this applies to all stages of the interaction, right?
Yes, it does.
Like from the initial approach
Yeah.
to escalating things physically.
Absolutely. The speaker emphasizes that many people are wired to respond to those who take the lead.
Yeah.
It's about fulfilling that subconscious desire for a partner who can guide the dance.
So it's not about being bossy or controlling.
Yeah.
It's more about creating a safe and enjoyable experience.
That's it.
By kind of taking the reins.
Exactly. You're the captain of the ship. You're navigating the interaction. But here's the catch. You can't effectively lead.
Yeah.
If you're coming from a place of anxiety or insecurity.
Right. You can't pour from an empty cup.
That's it.
Right. If you want to create that positive experience for someone else,
You got to be feeling good yourself.
you got to be feeling good yourself.
It all comes back to cultivating that inner abundance, that that wellspring of positive energy that draws people in.
Okay.
And that leads us to another crucial point. And that is the importance of not needing a relationship to feel complete or validated. The speaker really emphasizes that seeking a relationship out of neediness or a lack of self-worth is setting yourself up for trouble.
Right.
It's about finding that happiness, that fulfillment within yourself first, and then allowing it to flow into your relationships.
Yeah. So you're coming from a place of strength, not lack.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing that you're already whole and valuable, regardless of your relationship status.
Absolutely.
And this ties back to that core belief of seeing yourself as the prize, right?
Yes.
Your worth isn't dependent on having a partner. It's an inherent quality that you cultivate from within.
Absolutely. It's about owning your value, your uniqueness, your ability to create happiness and fulfillment in your own life. And when you embrace that, you naturally attract the right people into your life.
This has been so insightful.
It's been great.
It's clear that attraction is this dynamic interplay of inner and outer work.
Yes.
Where confidence, self-awareness, and understanding the psychology of emotion are all key players.
They are. And we're just getting started.
Oh, great.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll dive even deeper into this fascinating world of sexual energy, playful touch, and creating that irresistible vibe that draws people in.
Okay, welcome back to our final part.
Our final part, yeah.
Of our deep dive into the science of attraction. We've been really unpacking some fascinating insights, um, exploring everything from self-belief to the power of positive emotions.
We have. We've covered a lot of ground in these last two parts.
Yeah.
And this isn't, your typical surface level dating advice, right?
Right.
This is about understanding the deeper, psychology of attraction and developing that magnetic energy that really draws people in.
Totally. And in the last part, we left off talking about how crucial it is to come from a place of wholeness and not need a relationship to feel complete. It's about recognizing that you are the prize.
Yes.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
How do we actually turn up the heat and create that spark?
I'm glad you asked that because, the source material has some really intriguing insights on that front. Remember that concept of soaking yourself in sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about saying you're confident and attractive.
Yeah.
It's about radiating that energy through your entire being.
About embodying that vibe, right? It's your tonality, it's your expressions, even your movements. It's that subtle magnetism that makes people want to be closer to you.
Yes, the speaker uses this this hilarious example. I think it was from Howie Mandel or Billy Crystal's Stit to really illustrate this point. It's about this guy who finds himself more attracted to a dog than the woman he's supposed to pick up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it's, the humor lies in the absurdity of the situation, of course. But it highlights this really crucial point, and that is that genuine attraction goes beyond surface appearances.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that raw energy, that spark that ignites when two people connect on a deeper level.
Okay.
Sometimes you just feel it and sometimes you don't.
So it's not about forcing it. It's about cultivating that inner state that naturally draws people in.
Exactly. And, playful touch can play a big role in creating that spark.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those examples we talked about? The light shoulder punch, the playful magazine swat. It's about incorporating physicality in a way that's fun and flirty.
It's a way of breaking down those initial barriers and establishing a more comfortable, playful connection.
Yeah, it's like saying, "Hey, I'm comfortable enough with you to touch you in this playful way."
Right.
But again, it's crucial to read the other person's cues, respect their boundaries.
Right.
If they seem uncomfortable, back off. But if the energy is flowing, a little playful touch can go a long way in building that rapport.
Okay. I want to circle back to this concept of controlling the frame because I think it's so important.
It is.
But it can also be a little tricky to grasp sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. It's a powerful concept. But it does require, some mental agility. Remember the example of the woman trying to make a man jealous?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of reacting negatively, the man in that scenario controlled the frame by choosing to see her behavior as a sign of attraction.
Yeah, it's like he flipped the script.
Exactly.
He took a potentially negative situation and turned it into a positive.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is that your perception of a situation often dictates the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So by choosing to see things from a positive, confident perspective, you maintain that control and you create a more attractive dynamic.
So even if someone is trying to throw you off balance or play games, you can choose to see it as their attempt to get your attention, which ironically reinforces that you are the prize.
Exactly. It's about maintaining that unshakable self-belief. You are valuable. You're desirable regardless of external validation. You're not seeking approval. You're radiating it.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've explored so many layers of attraction.
We have.
From the importance of self-belief to the power of playful touch and controlling the frame. It's clear there's a lot more to it than just good looks or pickup lines.
That's right.
It's about cultivating that inner confidence and allowing it to shine through in your interactions.
Yeah.
It's about embracing your sexuality, your unique qualities, and yes, even your flaws.
Yeah, it's about being the best version of yourself, not for someone else, but for you. And trusting that when you do that, the right people will be drawn to your authentic energy.
Okay. Well, that just about wraps up our deep dive into the science of attraction.
It does.
We hope you walk away with a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of confidence in your ability to create those sparks.
Absolutely. Go out there and rock your authentic vibe.
Thanks for tuning in.